The Grand Galactic Council Hall was vast, stretching as far as the eye could see. Hundreds of alien leaders from across the galaxy sat in glowing seats, their eyes fixed on the center stage where the council's discussion was about to begin. Strange symbols floated in the air, projected from small devices hovering above each leader. The room buzzed with quiet conversations, the sound echoing strangely against the metallic walls. At the center of the hall, a massive holographic screen shimmered. Today the topic was humans. The alien leaders had not discussed them in decades. Humans had been exiled from the galaxy 200 years ago, branded as dangerous and unpredictable. They had been said to threaten the galaxy itself, and their planet had been abandoned, left to fade from memory. Humans, said one high-ranking alien, a tall figure with blue skin and eyes that glowed like molten silver. They're gone. Their threats ended with their exile. We have no reason to fear them now. A young alien ambassador, still new to the council, leaned toward his mentor and whispered, "They are gone, gone forever." His voice was nervous, yet full of certainty. He had read the records. He had seen the history books. Humans were extinct. There was no doubt in his mind. The council began to settle into their usual rhythm. Reports of distant conflicts, trade disputes, and minor planetary rebellions filled the air. But then a small, unexpected blip appeared on the central holographic screen. At first it was tiny, a flicker of light almost too faint to notice. The room quieted. The blip grew stronger, sharper, until the form of a small scout ship appeared in perfect holographic detail. Its design was strange, unlike any known human craft. It was sleek, dark, and fast-looking, with edges that shimmered against the empty black of space. A voice followed, distorted but unmistakably human, "We are returning." The words echoed through the hall, bouncing off the walls and the glowing seats. A hush fell over the assembly. Aliens stared at the screen, their jaws tightening. Some laughed. Some scoffed. Some shook their heads in disbelief. "Impossible," said one old alien general, his voice trembling. "Humans were destroyed. Their colonies wiped out. There is no way." But the young ambassador felt his heart pound. Something in the tone of the message made him uneasy. There was confidence, power, and warning. "What is this?" hissed another council member. "A trick? A holographic decoy?" The older general snorted. "It is nothing. A remnant of a long-dead species trying to scare us. Ignore it." But even as they spoke, the screen shifted. More signals appeared, subtle but undeniable. Small, hidden ships in deep space, moving in patterns that no alien ship had ever used. Patterns that suggested strategy, intelligence, and preparation. The young ambassador whispered to his mentor again, almost inaudibly, "They are not gone. They never left, not really." The laughter in the hall slowly died. Murmurs replaced it, growing louder, more anxious. Aliens began to exchange worried glances. Some of the oldest and wisest leaders in the galaxy leaned forward in their seats, their eyes narrowing. A single question hung in the air: are humans really back? Outside the grand windows of the council hall, the stars of the galaxy stretched endlessly. Somewhere beyond the edges of known space, human ships moved silently, unseen by anyone but the keenest sensors. For centuries, the galaxy had believed humans were extinct, wiped from existence, unable to pose any threat. But now, a tiny signal hinted at a massive surprise. The young ambassador felt a shiver run down his spine. Something told him that the humans returning was not just a warning, it was a promise. The council leader, a massive alien with golden scales that glinted in the dim lights, banged his gavel. "Order! Order!" His voice shook the hall. "Explain this intrusion. Explain why a species we declared extinct is communicating with us now." A junior officer stepped forward, nervously holding a glowing data pad. "Sir, the ships, they are advanced. They are not like the humans we knew. We cannot detect their full strength, but their fleet appears ready, calculated." The room fell silent. Whispers of doubt spread quickly. Doubts that the exiled humans might not only be alive, but stronger than anyone had imagined. The young ambassador's mentor leaned close, his voice low and grave. "You were right, young one. They are not gone. And if we ignore them, we may live to regret it." Suddenly, the holographic image of the scout ship flickered, and another message appeared, sharper, more direct. "Prepare yourselves. Humanity has returned." The council froze. The weight of centuries of hubris pressed down upon them. A species they had thought destroyed was back, and the galaxy would never be the same again. The young ambassador's eyes widened. He whispered to no one in particular, "The unexpected war, it has begun." And in that moment, for the first time in 200 years, every alien in the hall felt a chill of fear. Humanity was coming. And they were not forgiving. The galaxy had barely begun to absorb the shock of the human signal when the first reports came in. Alien colonies at the edges of explored space were under attack. But it was unlike anything the Council had ever seen. The attacks were fast, precise, and almost invisible. Ships appeared out of nowhere, striking lightly at first, almost as if testing defenses. And then they vanished. Communications from the colonies were filled with panic. Entire security outposts were disabled before reinforcements could arrive. In the council hall, alarms rang. Screens lit up with incoming reports from every quadrant. The old general who had dismissed the humans 2 centuries ago now pounded his claws against his desk. "Impossible," he shouted. "How can this be happening? They are extinct. I don't understand." The young ambassador felt a chill run down his spine. "It is them," he whispered. "It has to be humans. There is no one else capable of this." Outside the hall, in the depths of space, a fleet of human ships moved with uncanny precision. Sleek, dark, and almost invisible against the star-strewn void, they navigated asteroid fields, wormholes, and patrol zones as if they had been born there. Captain Elias Ward, the human commander, watched the holographic display on his ship. His eyes were sharp, calculating. Every move was deliberate, every strike planned. "Keep them off balance," he said softly to his crew. "We cannot let them know our full strength yet." The human crew was silent but alert. For decades they had trained in secret, preparing for this moment. They were the best the planet had produced, chosen for their skills, courage, and cunning. They had waited for the right moment to remind the galaxy that humanity could never be ignored. Back in the council hall, whispers spread like wildfire. Some aliens thought it might be a trick, a phantom fleet created to terrify them. Others were not so sure. The colony's reports could not be faked. Entire defense stations had been disabled in minutes. Humans were back, and stronger than ever. The council leader banged his gavel again. "What are their numbers? Where are they coming from?" "Unknown, sir," said a junior officer, sweating under the scrutiny. "We cannot detect their homeworlds. Our sensors show a small fleet at first, but the patterns suggest a much larger force waiting." The young ambassador looked around, noticing the fear growing in the oldest and strongest leaders. For the first time he felt a mix of awe and dread. Humans had been underestimated. Now that mistake was becoming painfully clear. Suddenly, a report flashed on the central screen. An alien colony that had been considered well defended was destroyed in less than 5 minutes. There were no survivors. Just silent, smoking ruins floating in space. The council erupted into chaos. Leaders shouted, argued, and accused one another of failing their defenses. "Order!" the council leader roared, but his voice sounded weak against the rising panic. Meanwhile, Captain Elias Ward's fleet executed the next phase of their plan. Small strike teams separated from the main fleet and infiltrated the communications networks of several key alien colonies. They left no trace, no bodies, only confusion. Ships that had been patrolling for decades vanished without a fight. "This is too easy," muttered an alien defense commander, staring at the empty space where ships had once been. How can they move like this? How are they thinking?" Back in the human fleet, Captain Ward smiled faintly. "They still think we are weak. They still think we are extinct. Let them continue. Their arrogance will be their downfall." In the council hall, the young ambassador could see the fear turning into dread. Even the oldest leaders, those who had survived countless wars, were shaken. "They are not just back," whispered one. "They are evolved, smarter, faster, stronger." The council leader leaned forward, his eyes wide. "We must respond, immediately. All fleets, all defenses engage." But it was too late. The humans had already disappeared, leaving confusion and fear in their wake. The alien fleet scrambled to intercept phantom ships, only to find empty space where humans had been. The young ambassador looked at the holographic map, tracing the paths of the human strike teams. His heart pounded. "This is only the beginning," he said to himself. "They are coming for us, and no one can stop them yet." Outside, the stars remained calm, silent witnesses to the chaos below. But within those points of light, hidden among asteroids and uncharted space, the human fleet moved on. Every attack was calculated, every strike precise. And with each move the message became clearer: humanity had returned, and this time the galaxy would remember them. The Council, for the first time in its long history, knew it had made a grave mistake. A species they had believed extinct was alive, organized, and ready to strike. And as the young ambassador whispered to no one in particular, a chill ran through the hall. The unexpected war has begun. The galaxy had barely begun to recover from the first human strike when new reports arrived, this time filled with more questions than answers. Alien leaders stared at the glowing holographic screens in disbelief. Entire fleets that were sent to hunt humans vanished without a trace. Security stations reported strange anomalies, ships appearing and disappearing, communication systems hacked, and patterns of movement that no alien had ever seen before. The Grand Galactic Council was in chaos. Every member leaned forward, eyes wide, hearts racing. The young ambassador, still in shock from the first attacks, felt a mix of fear and awe. "They are more than we imagined," he whispered to his mentor. Meanwhile, far beyond the reach of the Council's fleets, humans had been living quietly for centuries. After the exile 200 years ago, they did not simply disappear. They had fled to hidden planets scattered across the galaxy in secret. Some had settled on moons orbiting unremarkable stars. Others had gone deep underground on barren worlds, building cities invisible to alien sensors. Captain Elias Ward stood on the bridge of the flagship, watching the galaxy through his ship's advanced sensors. "The Council believes we are weak," he said, his voice calm but commanding. "They think we are a ghost story. That belief will be their downfall." The human fleet moved like a shadow, silent and unseen. Every ship was equipped with technology centuries ahead of anything the aliens had known. Stealth fields, energy shields, hyperspeed engines, and weapons capable of disabling entire fleets without firing a single shot. But the humans did not strike indiscriminately. They were careful, precise, calculating. In the council hall, rumors began to spread. "How is this possible?" one elder asked, voice shaking. "How can a species we exiled survive and grow stronger?" No one knew the truth. They could only guess. But the patterns of the attacks were clear. This was not just retaliation. This was a statement. A species that had been underestimated and discarded was now returning to claim its place in the galaxy. The young ambassador leaned over to his mentor. "They've had centuries to prepare," he said. "They are organized. They know our weaknesses. They are evolving faster than we thought." The mentor nodded grimly. "Humans always adapt," he said. "That is their greatest strength. You cannot fight what you cannot predict. And right now we cannot predict them." Back on the human planets, scientists and engineers worked tirelessly. Human society had rebuilt itself in secrecy. Every generation learned skills and knowledge the aliens could not imagine. They had mastered energy manipulation, space travel, and advanced artificial intelligence. They had trained warriors, engineers, and strategists who could think 10 moves ahead of any alien opponent. The Council, meanwhile, tried desperately to respond. Fleets were mobilized, defensive shields erected, and spy networks activated. Yet every effort failed. Ships sent to intercept humans either returned empty or were destroyed in ways the Council could not comprehend. Systems were hacked, communications intercepted, and strategies anticipated before they were even executed. The young ambassador watched as a holographic map of human movements appeared in the council hall. Lines and dots shifted with uncanny intelligence. "It's like they know our every move before we make it," he said. His voice was barely audible over the murmurs of fear around him. Even the oldest generals whispered to one another, recalling tales of humanity's past, how a small, underestimated species on a blue planet had survived against impossible odds. And now, centuries later, they had returned not as weak exiles, but as a force beyond imagination. Captain Ward addressed his fleet again. "Do not underestimate them," he said, pointing to the map of the galaxy displayed before him. "The Council does not yet know the full extent of our strength. Let them learn it the hard way." A human engineer approached. "Captain, the new cloaking devices are ready. No sensors will detect us unless we want them to." Ward smiled. "Good. That is how we win. Silence first. Precision second. Power, always ready." Meanwhile, in the council hall, whispers turned into panic. "They are ghosts," an elder said, voice trembling. "They have survived without anyone knowing. And now, they are coming." The young ambassador felt his stomach twist. "They are not just ships," he whispered. "They are humans, and they are smart. Too smart to be defeated by old rules." Outside the council's vision, human fleets waited in shadows, invisible yet ever-present. Every hidden planet, every secret base, had become a node in a vast network of strategy. And every human soldier was trained to execute their plan flawlessly. The council, for all its history and wisdom, had made one grave mistake. They had underestimated the spirit, intelligence, and resilience of humanity. And now, centuries later, humanity was returning, not as the species that had been exiled, but as a hidden force that had grown stronger with every challenge, ready to reclaim its place in the galaxy. The young ambassador whispered again, barely moving his lips, "The war has only begun. And the humans, they are ready for everything we throw at them." The hall grew silent. Every alien present understood one truth: the galaxy had changed forever. And in the darkness beyond their vision, humans waited, watching, planning, and preparing for the moment they would strike again. The Grand Galactic Council Hall had never been so tense. Leaders who had faced countless wars, rebellions, and cosmic disasters now sat in silence, their glowing eyes wide with fear. The human strikes were no longer small tests, they had become a real threat. Every fleet sent against them had vanished or been destroyed, and the aliens now understood the terrifying truth: humans were back and they were unpredictably strong. The council leader, a massive alien with golden scales that shimmered in the hall's light, slammed his gavel to demand order. "Order," he shouted, but his voice lacked the confidence it once had. Panic buzzed in the air, whispering through the rows of alien leaders. How can this be happening? Where did they come from? How strong are they? The young ambassador felt his stomach twist as he watched. Every report on the holographic screens showed human ships moving faster, striking harder, and disappearing before alien fleets could respond. Every colony that had been considered well defended now lay in ruins, their communications dark. A senior general, his eyes like molten steel, stood abruptly. "We must act immediately. Mobilize the entire fleet. Send strike teams to intercept." Another council member shook his head. "It's too late. They are already beyond our sensors. Our forces cannot even detect their main fleet. They are ghosts. And yet they move with purpose, with intelligence." The council erupted into arguments. Some demanded war, others pleaded for negotiation, but no one could deny the fear spreading through every leader. For the first time in centuries, the Grand Galactic Council was uncertain. They had faced countless enemies, but none like this. Humans were clever, adaptable, and relentless. Outside the council's distant viewports, stars twinkled calmly, unaware of the panic below. Yet hidden among asteroids, gas clouds, and uncharted systems, human ships moved silently. Captain Elias Ward's flagship glided through space like a shadow. His crew worked calmly, efficiently, their movements precise and practiced. "We have them where we want," Ward said softly, pointing at the holographic star map. "They believe they can fight us with numbers. Let them try. Every move they make has been predicted. Every plan they devise, we already know it." A young officer approached him, holding a small display. "Captain, the next strike team is ready. Targets are selected. All defenses bypassed." Ward nodded. "Good. Move carefully. Let them see some of our strength, but not all. The council must understand, we are no longer the species they once underestimated." Back in the council hall, tension reached a peak. The youngest ambassadors whispered nervously, while the oldest leaders pounded their desks in frustration. Reports of destroyed colonies, missing fleets, and hacked communication networks piled up endlessly. Every new piece of information reinforced one terrifying truth: humans were a force beyond prediction. "Sir," said a junior officer, voice trembling, "their ships, they are not just stealthy. They are faster than anything in our records. Every interception attempt has failed. They seem to anticipate our moves before we even make them." The council leader's claws tightened around his gavel. "Impossible. No species can move like this. No species can think like this." But the evidence was undeniable. Humans had survived exile, hidden for centuries, and now returned with technology and strategies that defied alien understanding. The council could no longer dismiss them as weak or extinct. Fear settled like a dark cloud over the hall. The young ambassador, still trying to keep calm, whispered to his mentor, "They have been preparing all this time. We never saw it coming, and now we cannot stop them." The mentor nodded grimly. "They are patient, and humans never forget. The council underestimated them, and now, we all pay the price." Outside, the human fleet shifted positions, silent and unseen. They did not rush, they moved with calculated patience. Every strike, every disappearance, every hint of power was part of a larger plan. Humans were no longer just a species, they were a strategy, a force, a warning to the galaxy. The council leader looked around, his golden eyes meeting every gaze. "Prepare for full engagement," he ordered, though the uncertainty in his voice betrayed his confidence. Every fleet, every system, ready all defenses. Humanity must not reach the core planets. But even as the orders were given, doubt lingered. Could the Council truly stop a species that had survived in secret for centuries, learning, evolving, and planning every move ahead? Every report, every destroyed outpost, every vanished fleet whispered the same warning. They were no longer the humans of the past. They were something more, something the galaxy had forgotten. The young ambassador, heart-pounding, watched the holographic maps of alien space. He knew one truth now clearer than ever: humans were not just back. They were ready. And fear had finally reached the Grand Galactic Council. And in the dark corners of space, hidden and unseen, the human fleet waited. Patience, precision, and power were their weapons. Every moment brought them closer to striking again. And the Council, for all its history and wisdom, could only watch in growing fear. The young ambassador whispered to no one in particular. The Council thought exiling them would end the threat. They were wrong. Humanity is here, and this time the galaxy will remember their name. The galaxy held its breath. Reports of the human fleet's movements had reached every corner of Council space. Alien leaders scrambled to defend their colonies, but it was already too late. Captain Elias Ward's fleet, hidden in the shadows of uncharted systems, began their main offensive. In the command room of his flagship, Ward watched the holographic star map, every dot representing a strategic target. "This is it," he said calmly, though his eyes burned with intensity. "Strike now. Precision first. Show them humanity's strength." His crew moved like a single organism. Engineers activated energy shields that could absorb multiple plasma volleys. Pilots adjusted stealth fields to render ships invisible. Weapons systems hummed, silent but ready. There was no hesitation, no doubt. Humans had waited centuries for this moment, and now every move was flawless. Far away, the first alien colony felt the impact. Alarms blared as communication towers exploded, one after another. Alien soldiers scrambled to respond, but their systems had been hacked. Defensive turrets fired blindly into empty space, unable to track the human ships that moved faster than thought possible. Entire fleets were disabled without a single direct strike. Inside the Council Hall, panic reached new heights. The young ambassador's hands shook as he leaned over his mentor. They are unstoppable," he whispered. "It's like they know every move we make." "Not just that," his mentor replied grimly. "They are humans, and they always find a way." Back in space, Ward ordered his strike teams to focus on key command centers. Small squads of human ships infiltrated alien networks, disabling hyperdrive engines, cutting off communication and leaving chaos in their wake. One by one, alien fleets disappeared from sensor screens, leaving only empty space and smoke trails behind. On one planet, a young human pilot named Lyra maneuvered her small craft through a barrage of alien fire. Her heart pounded, but she stayed calm. With a precise shot, she disabled the enemy's main shield generator, opening a path for the larger human ships. Her actions saved hundreds of human lives and turned the tide in the battle. Another human team rescued civilians trapped in a colony under siege. Using stealth technology, they evacuated families in silence, moving through alien patrols without detection. The human fleet was not just attacking, it was showing strategy, bravery, and honor. A reminder that humanity's strength lay not only in power but in cleverness and heart. In the Council Hall, the alien leaders struggled to comprehend the scale of the attack. "This cannot be happening," shouted one elder, his voice shaking. "We were supposed to be in control. We thought humans were gone." "They were gone only in our arrogance," muttered the young ambassador, watching the chaos unfold. "They were waiting, watching, learning. And now they strike." As the human fleet moved through the galaxy, entire systems fell under their control. The strikes were quick, decisive, and precise. No unnecessary destruction. Humans targeted military bases, command ships, and strategic points, leaving civilian populations largely untouched. Every action was calculated, every strike intentional. Captain Ward looked at the holographic display of the galaxy. "We are making them realize," he said quietly, "that humanity cannot be ignored. Not ever again." In one final act of strategy, a human team disabled the Council's primary communication hub, cutting off the leaders from each other. Panic spread like wildfire. Orders could not be coordinated, fleets could not be commanded, and fear gripped every alien heart. The young ambassador watched the holographic feed of a captured alien command station. He saw fear, confusion, and the first signs of surrender. Humans were not just attacking, they were teaching the galaxy a lesson it would never forget. Outside the council's vision, the stars remained calm, silent witnesses to the chaos below. But for humanity this was a beginning. Every move, every strategy, every strike reinforced one truth. The galaxy had underestimated humans and now humans had returned to claim their place. Ward's crew cheered softly, though there was no time for celebration. The campaign was ongoing, but the humans had made their point unmistakably clear. Humanity was back, and the Grand Galactic Council had learned a painful truth. To exile a species like humans was a mistake the galaxy would regret forever. The young ambassador whispered to himself, voice trembling, "They've returned, and this war has changed everything." And in the darkness of space, the human fleet moved on, invisible and unstoppable, leaving behind a galaxy that would never see them the same way again. The Grand Galactic Council hall was silent, but not peaceful. Silence had fallen because fear had taken its place. The alien leaders, once proud and confident, now sat frozen, staring at the glowing holographic screens that showed the humans' unstoppable advance. Entire fleets had been lost. Colonies were disabled. Key systems were captured. The Council realized with horror that they had underestimated humanity, and that mistake could cost them everything. The Council leader, golden scales glinting under the hall's lights, banged his gavel with trembling claws. "Enough!" he roared, but even he knew his words had little power. His fleets were shattered, communication networks disrupted, and human forces controlled the flow of battle. We must sue for peace," he admitted reluctantly, voice heavy with shame. Murmurs rippled through the hall. Some leaders gasped in disbelief. "Peace?" they whispered. "After centuries of exile, after our victories against them?" But the evidence was undeniable. Humans were no longer the species they once thought. They were strong, intelligent, and unstoppable. The Council had no choice. A young alien ambassador leaned toward his mentor, eyes wide. They are asking for mercy?" he asked. His voice was shaky. "After all the destruction, why would humans even consider peace?" The mentor sighed. "Because they are patient. They are humans. And their strength is not only in fighting, they know the value of control. Mercy is another kind of power." Meanwhile, in the shadows of space, Captain Elias Ward's flagship floated silently near the Council's central system. His fleet had disabled key defense systems, cut off communication networks, and captured strategic positions. Every human move had been precise, calculated, and effective. Ward looked at the holographic display of the Council's fleet. "They are asking for peace," he said quietly. Let them understand who they face." Back in the Council hall, the leaders watched the humans' final message appear on the screens. "You exiled us. You underestimated us. Now you ask for mercy. Humanity decides the future." The room was deathly quiet. No one spoke. Every alien leader felt the weight of centuries of arrogance and ignorance. They had believed humans weak, gone, and irrelevant. They had judged too quickly. And now, the species they had banished held all the power. The young ambassador's heart raced. He whispered, barely audible, "They are humans. And they have changed everything." A sudden alert interrupted the hall's tense silence. On the screens, a distant fleet of humans appeared, moving toward a sector no one in the Council had expected. "Another strike?" one leader asked, panicked. Ward's voice echoed over the secure human channels. "Not a strike, yet," he said. "We move to claim the systems we need. The Council has seen our power. They know the war is not over, but the lesson is clear. Humanity is back. And the galaxy will remember it." The young ambassador swallowed hard. "They are planning something bigger," he muttered. "This isn't the end. It's only the beginning." In the Council hall, alien leaders scrambled to respond. Fleets were dispatched, defenses raised, and emergency protocols activated, but it was all too little, too late. Human technology and strategy had proven superior. Every countermeasure failed. The Council's confidence had turned to regret, fear, and a deep understanding of their mistake. Outside, in the darkness of space, human ships moved silently, unseen and untouchable. They were not aggressive without purpose. They were teaching the galaxy a lesson in humility. Humans did not need to destroy everything. Their presence alone was enough to make the Council tremble. The young ambassador watched as the human fleet disappeared into the shadowed reaches of uncharted space. He whispered almost to himself, "They were exiled, but they came back stronger than anyone imagined. And now, we are powerless against them." A hush fell over the Council hall. The realization was final and inescapable. Humanity had returned not to beg, not to plead, but to claim their place in the galaxy. The species that had been underestimated for centuries had grown into a force no one could ignore. The final message from the humans flickered on the central screen, bold and clear. We are not finished. The galaxy will remember us. Prepare yourselves. Silence filled the hall. Every alien leader felt a chill run through their scales, skin, and bones. The galaxy had changed forever. Humans were back, smarter, stronger, and ready for whatever came next. The young ambassador turned to his mentor. Do you think this is the end? The mentor shook his head slowly, voice low and grave. No. This is only the beginning. Humanity has returned. And they do not forget. They do not forgive. The war, the real war, is yet to come. And far beyond the Council's reach, in the hidden corners of the galaxy, the human fleet moved silently, waiting, watching, and preparing. Every system, every star, every shadow held a secret. The unexpected war had begun. The Council had begged, and humans had answered, not with anger but with a calm, unyielding power that promised the galaxy would never underestimate them again. The final image lingered on the screen, a fleet of human ships disappearing into deep space, leaving the galaxy to wonder when and where they would strike next. The Council had learned their lesson. But the question remained, would the galaxy survive the return of humanity?